It's here at last, the Vodacom Durban July, South Africa's biggest betting event of the year. Everyone wants a piece of the action. Thanks very much for joining us on this, the World Sports Betting Durban July preview show. We've assembled a power panel to take you through the Durban July and some of the surrounding features as well. And I'm pretty sure that by the end of the show, you will have made some of your betting decisions. And in fact, one of the decisions that I'd like you to make right now, it's the easiest one of the lot, is where you're going to bet on the weekend. And you can log on to wsb.co.za. You can open an account and make a deposit. How about that then? They'll match your opening deposit up to 10,000 Rand. Well, that's an excellent deal for any new punters out there. There are also promotions there for existing punters as well. We'll cover those later in the show. But let's get down to the business of racing. I'm joined here by two very special guests to my left, and I'll start off with racing personality and presenter Julie Alexander. Julie, great to see you again.
Yeah, you too, Brent. Lovely to be here at World Sports Betting Head Office, and of course to be featuring our Vodacom Durban July for 2018. I think we're in for a fantastic day's racing. Yeah,
I really enjoy the background here. We're in the head office here in Fourways, so it makes for a very different setting. And just yourself on July Day, I know you're working in Joburg.
Yeah, generally it's one of our biggest race days in Joburg, at July in Josie, sponsored by World Sports Betting. But I think the whole day is really culminated, of course, around the Vodacom Durban July. And we bring it as part of our card.
Of the Joburg card, yes.
So it's part of our betting, and it's part of our exotics. So I think all eyes will be fixed when it comes to the 7th race, the Vodacom Durban July this year.
Oh, well, it's an incredible race, and I must say, I normally have a queue of about 20 to 30 people wanting to get bets on through me on the morning of the July. But let's move on to our second guest. He's someone who's no stranger to driving a thoroughbred racehorse towards the line. What an incredible feeling that must be. Ryan Munger, good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brett.
And you're also working on Saturday. You're not racing in the July, but you are racing at Turfington.
Yeah, I'm applying my trade here. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a ride in the July, but I've got some nice rides here. Hopefully I can get a few winners, and hopefully it'll be a good day.
You were telling me you were carded on 7 of the races, and your biggest price is something like 5 to 1.
Yeah, I've got a very nice card, a competitive card, so hopefully I can crack a winner or so. And
perhaps a straight line PA or something like that.
Geez, I won't complain about that, but yeah, we'll see from there.
Just something that interests me, the jockeys that are actually working at Turfington, are they going to be following the progress down in Durban, getting involved with the build-up? I mean, I know it's part of the card, so is that something you will stop before your next race and actually watch the July and get excited for it?
Yeah, definitely, of course. It's the big races, the big horses. It's top horse racing there at Gravel, and during the races, I'm sure the guys are going to stop and watch each and every one of the big races if they can. And when it comes to the July, it's amazing how the boys in the jockey room, they just go, we all sit down, we watch the big race, shout our horses home that we all like for the July. And yeah, it's actually a very nice event. It's nice to support our fellow jockeys there in Durban, and it'll be a very nice day.
Well, it certainly sounds like a great day. If you are in Johannesburg, go out to Turfington and enjoy that World Sports Betting sponsored day. But let's move into the big race, and we'll start off by having a look at the betting. We've got the slide up there, and we've got a strong favourite in the race. African Night Sky is at 5 to 2. But if you're prepared to look beyond that, we've got Do It Again 15 to 2. White River, I can tell you lots of money for this one, in from 20 to 1 to 10 to 1. Made to Conquer, the mount of Jeff Lloyd, looking for his first July wins, 12 to 1. Majestic Mumbo 12 to 1. Abashiri 12 to 1. Elusive Silvers at 14 to 1. Matador Man, another that World Sports Betting are reporting quite a bit of money for, in at 20 to 1. Dark Moon Rising 20 to 1. Tiberi Fort 22 to 1. Yakin, I know a few shrewdies that fancy Yakin, a little bit of money there as well, 28 to 1. Gold Standard in from 40s to 33 to 1. You've got Coral Fever, Liège, Secret Potion, Rocket Countdown, FIORELLA, and Star Express at 45 to 1. And before we talk about the favourite here, Julie, the thing that strikes me about this field is we've got 18 runners, and we don't have a 100 to 1 shot in there. You don't have your usual 80 and 100 to 1 shot. It is an incredibly competitive field.
Very competitive. Looking at it, Brent, I think it's one of the hardest Julys, or more open Julys, that we've seen in many, many years. Normally when you look, and it's never easy, the Vodacom Durban July is never easy to find the winner, but normally when you look, there'll be 1 or 2 horses that have run in top graded races around the country that make it into this field, and that kind of stand out for you. And you base your bets around that. You get your trifectas and your quartets on, or your each way selections. But this year, each horse has a chance of making the grade. They can win or they can run into the money. There's not one horse that's in this field that shouldn't be in the field, you know, when you start looking into the form quite deep. So I think we're in for a very good race. I think it's going to be an exciting finish. And let's hope between Ryan and I we can guide the punters in the right direction.
Tell you there's lots of people, myself included, hoping that you guys can come up with a couple of winners. And Ryan, let's talk about the favourite, 5-2, so it's basically 3 times shorter than any other horse in the field. Is that price warranted?
Geez, you know, the African Night Sky's last win was one of the most impressive wins I've seen in a long time. You know, I actually went and watched the replay again and again. It's just, it gives you goosebumps. You know, if you watch a cup trial, he came from stone last, went through horses, switched, and he just did it in a canter. He just easily won. It was such a nice prep run into this race, and you know that this horse has got class written all over him. And you know the Snaith team have a strong hand in this race. I think this would be their pick, and you know they know how to get horses ready for the July. They've won it twice, so I think this 5-2. I think is a nice price for this horse.
5-2, not a bad price for this horse, having a look at the form as well. But let's just have a look at a promotion that World Sports Betting are running. And I wanted to particularly put it in here, Ryan, because I think it's very relevant if you're a favourite backer. If you back the favourite at 5-2 and the horse runs second or third, you get your money back in free bets with World Sports Betting. So I think that's...
Ryan's going to be opening an account.
Yeah, I shouldn't really talk to you too much about the betting angle, but I mean, if you are a favourite backer, what a great, because I mean, let's face it, it could get beat on the line by 40-1 shot, but run second or third, money back in free bets. That's a great offer. Yeah,
geez, exactly. No, I unfortunately am not allowed to punt, but if I could punt, I'd definitely take this deal, because geez, if you back the favourites and you unfortunately get beat, you know you're getting your money back. You know, run in the first 3, get your money back. It's a nice incentive. I think World Sports Betting are throwing good incentives out there to the punters.
That's a good one, and that's coming from a jockey, ladies and gentlemen. Julie, you'd agree with that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Great value.
Very much so, because how many times have we seen one of our fancied runners finish in the money and not win? So, yeah, I think it's fantastic.
So
good
punters
initiative.
would at least get another chance. You've got races like the Garden Province and that coming up afterwards. You can throw your free bets at that. Let's have a look at the second horse in the betting. Do It Again, priced at 15-2. There's been a lot of support for this one during the week. What do you make of it?
Not surprising. Like Ryan pointed out, Justin really holds the key to this race with 5 of his runners, and all 5 have got top chances. You wouldn't see Anton Marcus get down to 54 for nothing. You can ask Ryan. He carries a little bit of condition, and it's going to take a little bit of work for him this week. I don't think he's going to be in a very good mood in the jockey room on Saturday.
No, I don't think so. But, you know, like you say, he's getting down there for a reason.
Exactly.
And we'll see on Saturday if the reason was worth it.
I know his last run was a little bit disappointing, Breen, but I think you've got to take into account it was his second run after a layoff. And we saw the very same thing happen with our winner of the Vodacom Durban July last year, Marinaresco. He came out, he ran a very good race, he won. Then he ran a flat race just before the July, and then he came on to win the July. So it could very well happen with number 8, Do It Again. If you go on direct form, he is held by a couple of runners, the likes of number 9, Majestic Mambo, who ran in front of him, and a few others. But I just think that with Anton getting his weight down to 54, you know, he can be given a little bit of a chance. He knows how to turn it on, so I'm not too concerned about the draw. And Anton knows how to win the July. So I think he certainly warrants respect.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, I often don't think about that side of racing. Jockeys having to get down for a race. I mean, if he didn't think he had a chance, like you say, he's going to say, I'm not going to suffer for the week before the race just to get down to the weight. I mean, I'd hate to think what it's like to get down to 54 kilos, quite frankly. But I imagine that's not as big a problem for you.
Yeah, no, I'll go to McDonald's and have a breakfast and ride 54 kilos, luckily. But yeah, it is definitely tough to lose weight, especially...
For the older jockeys.
Exactly, for the older jockeys. And I don't think any of the older jockeys, especially someone like Anton, he's not going to go and lose 2-3 kilos to ride a horse that's got no chance. He'll lose it for a horse that's got a good chance. And, you know, he does have a wide draw to overcome, and I have noticed here in the book he does come out a bit slow, but he definitely has his credentials to win, just like most of this field. But I wouldn't be surprised if he comes past the post first.
Well, let's talk about a money horse now. Third in the betting, we've got White River, priced at 10-1. I can tell you that White River has been backed in from 20-1 just a couple of weeks ago, so there's been plenty of support for this one. Perhaps a little bit of a mixed build-up. And Julie, do you think the 10-1's value here? I know a lot of people on this horse.
Yeah, look, I think Brett Crawford knows how to win these big races, and he has said that number 12, White River, is in good form. He's very confident of a good run from him. It is his second run after gelding, and I have to say he did show good improvement behind Surcharge to finish fifth, having that first run after a gelding. I think he does need to improve a little bit more. He's also drawn a little bit wide, so that is a little bit of a concern, but he is, like I said about Do It Again, he's a type of horse that can come from off them, although I prefer to see this horse placed. I think he likes to run from up there. I think he likes to be given a bit of a chance. I don't know if he's going to be dropped out of it, if he's going to be able to make it up as quickly as some of the other horses that have got a very good turn of foot. But Cornet off Brett Crawford, they're a great combination. They've had a great season. So I think that he needs to be included.
Ryan, are you expecting a big run from White River?
Yeah, he's definitely got his credentials to win, but you know, if you look at the betting closely, or at the form closely, sorry, if you look, Do It Again has beaten him twice in his last 2 runs, and there's only a kilo swing, and I don't think he can turn over a kilo. It's just a kilo is not going to be too much in the July, you know. And also, if you look, Majestic Mambo's also beaten him. Okay, I know this run was a while ago, but Rocket Countdown also beat him. So that's 3 horses in the race that beat him with not too much weight of a difference. So, you know, I don't know how he's doing at home. You never know. Maybe he's come on so well from his last run, but I personally think it's going to be tough for him to win.
And money, I mean, just because money comes for a horse, Julie, doesn't guarantee anything, does it?
No, well, I think money will come for a lot of horses in this race.
Yes.
I think people are going to see their fancies. They're going to go with jockeys. They're going to go with trainers. And I think even closer to the race, I think that's where you're really going to see it, how horses are behaving in the parade ring, the way they move to the start. And that for me is more important than early money, Brent. You know, for me, a horse can look fantastic, but they need to move down well. Just my personal opinion, so before I have a bet.
I was going to say, you'll be waiting to watch
Yes.
the horses come down
So
before
I'd rather take a shorter price
Yes.
on a horse, but at least I know he's moved down to the start well enough, and I'll take my chances with that.
Right, well, let's move on to the next horse in the betting. A sentimental pick, I think, for many, Made to Conquer.
It's going to be my first selection. I have
really?
to say
Okay.
it is. I think he's great value, and I think even to run in the top 3, how many times has Jeff Lloyd finished in the money in the Vodacom Durban July? It's pretty much every time he's had a ride, you know, he kind of finishes in the money. So I think there's great place money up about 15 Made to Conquer, but a very sentimental horse, as you pointed out, because it will be the Governor Jeff Lloyd's last ride in the Vodacom Durban July. It's his last meeting of his career, and I'd love to see him win. He's been my favorite jockey of all times, and I'd love to see him win on the 15 Made to Conquer.
Right, that'll be a very popular win with the punters, that one. Ryan, as a fellow jock, obviously Lloyd in a totally different era from you, but it would be great to see him bring home the bacon.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it'll just be so fitting that his last ride in the July is a winner. Will be like one of those fairy tale stories, but it's always a tough race. But this horse Made to Conquer, he's done nothing wrong. Done absolutely nothing wrong. Six wins from 10 runs, and he looks like he's only getting better. So a very lightly raced individual. He's also got a very nice chance of winning this race.
Right, well, let's go on to Majestic Mambo, number 9 on the card. There's been quite a little bit of money for Majestic Mambo. I was speaking to the World Sports Betting traders before we came on air. Julie, what do you think of this one?
You know, I actually interviewed Paul Peter over the weekend, and I asked him about the fitness of number 9 Majestic Mambo. Obviously, he's in good form. He did run at Greyville when he finished a very good second behind Surcharge in the Daily News. And it was a very good performance. And of course, that was over the 2,000 meters. I think the extra 200 is certainly going to help him. And Paul said he's fit, he's well. He said if it was a turpentine track, he said he would tell the guys to put as much as they could.
Okay.
He said the only concern for him is Greyville. And I have to agree with him. I just think that with all these horses charging to the line, and there's a lot of horses that are going to be drawn bad, that are going to turn it on in the closing stages, I'm concerned that he's not going to get there in time. I do think he'll finish off his race well, but from that draw, he's going to have no option but to come from off the pace. He can turn it on, but will he get there in time? The question mark is out. And I just think that there are other horses in the race that might just have more value than him.
Right, I mean, I guess for people out there placing their first bet ever on the July and hearing things like the draw probably sounds a bit confusing, but at a track like Greyville, the draw is absolutely important. You want to be handily placed coming into that short straight.
Yeah, exactly. From draw 19, it's going to be very difficult for this horse, and he's not the best. He doesn't break out the pens the best, so it's going to be very difficult to place him. And his options are basically very simple. It's either going to be towards the back of the field and making up 10 lengths, or you're going to be wide. So this horse will have it. He's a very good horse, and if he had a draw this Majestic Mamba, I'd say he's probably one of the horses to beat. But from draw 19, 3-year-old, the way I said there's more unluckiness than he's going to get lucky if I look at this race. And it's a top field. All these horses will be quickening to the line. They're not going to be stopping that last bit. And if you look at the field, one other thing I noticed, there's no genuine pace horses in the race. I don't know if Mr. Snaith will send one of his, but there's no horses with pace. And if he's towards the back with a false run race, he's going to battle to make up the ground.
Julie, how do you see the pace going in the race?
I think if there's no pace, my first selection, number 15, Made to Conquer, he stays well. He's won over 2,400, so he can stay all day. And I think Jeff knows how to dictate pace.
Yes.
And I think he might just go up there and do it himself.
Go out and try to lead from pillar to post.
Absolutely, especially from that draw.
Yeah, well, I suppose with the short straight as well, if you have got something in hand coming in and you've led from the start and judged your pace well. And yeah, let's have a look at the next one in the betting. It's Dark Moon Rising, 20-1. That's 9-2 at top 3. We're starting to get into what we'd call the outsiders now, I guess. There hasn't been a lot of money for this horse. Ryan, let's start with you this time. What do you think of Dark Moon Rising?
You know, he's going to have a tough challenge, this horse. He's just, you know, it's got a good draw, got a nice lightweight, but I don't know, his form doesn't... I think there's better horses in the race than him. That's the best way to put it, and I think he's going to really have to work hard to win this type of race.
Julie, anything from your side on?
I think so. You know, I have to agree slightly with Ryan. I think he's held by Elusive Silver on that last run. I know he got cut into as well, so, you know, maybe he could have finished a little bit closer. But I just think there's more to come from Elusive Silver as well, you know. So I do think he could be held. But what is going to be in his favour is the good draw. However, when we talk about good draws in the Vodacom Durban July, Ryan, I know you've never raced in the Vodacom Durban July.
No.
But sometimes it's actually harder being drawn 1, 2 and 3 than it is being drawn wide, because it's a rough race. Every jockey is out there to win, and a lot of the times when you draw your first 2, 3, 4, the guys from the outside come and they cut you off.
You've really got to bounce out if you 1, 2 and 3 to get a good position. Yeah.
Exactly. So it is tricky. I mean, you know, it comes down to jockeyship at the end of the day. But looking at the manner in which he runs, he generally doesn't get out there as quickly as a lot of the others that are drawn well, and that just might count against him.
Right, so in this case, the draw might actually not work in his favour. Let's go on to number 14, Yakin, 28-1. I've heard a lot of talk about this one. A few people fancied it a while ago, then they went off it, and now they're coming back onto it. There's been some support.
He's a dark horse for me in the race because he's an improving sort, the son of Teofilo. And, you know, the Jubilee form on the Highveld, when they do this race, it's always a prep run for the Vodacom Durban July. And it's in fact the last race on the Highveld where horses can actually qualify to get in. And normally speaking, from history, the horses that run well in the Jubilee tend to do well in the Vodacom Durban July. So he came out and he won, albeit just beating Tilbury Fort by a nose. So there's not much separating Tilbury Fort and Yakin in this race, other than the draw, where Yakin is drawn a bit better. But he's lightly raced. He's only having his 7th start. So there could be huge improvement to come from this horse. And you just get the feeling, Mark, I don't think Mark de Kock is a champion trainer all over the world. I mean, he's proven himself. I don't think he would have put him in this race if he didn't think he could handle it. So healthy respect for a number 14, Yakin. I think he could be a big runner in this race.
Ryan, I know you were saying before the show, Yakin must have a chance as well. You've ridden him in work?
Yeah, I have ridden him once or twice in work, and he is a very nice animal, decent horse. You know, the thing I just don't like is he's very lightly raced. You know, 4 wins from 6 runs is a very good record, but lightly raced. This is probably the toughest race in the country at the moment, the July, and it's going to be a very bumpy race. And if he's a bit green, or if he gets a few bumps here and there, he might find it difficult to quicken up. But like Julie said, Mr. de Kock won't put a horse in the race if he didn't think it's got a chance. And you know, he's a great trainer. He's got a great eye for a good horse, and I'm sure this horse should sneak into the places.
Well, we've spoken about quite a few horses already, and I must say you could get a feel for just how open this race is. Let's move on to 33-1 shot Gold Standard, Julie. Did see a bit of 40-1 about this one earlier in the week, so perhaps a little bit of a nibble, as you would expect on July Day, where people come in for all sorts of prices. Perhaps it hasn't been on the best form of late, but if it can return?
Yeah, look, they've tried the blinkers on in his last 2 starts, and he still hasn't seemed to improve. He has run a little bit closer, but he's just battling to round off his races of late. I'm not sure if maybe the rating has caught up with him a little bit. Maybe when he starts to drop, he can be more competitive. I know he was highly rated as a youngster by Glenn Cotson. They really rated this horse, and he's done extremely well. I just don't know if the gravel track is going to suit him, although he did run over 1,600 meters on the gravel last time, and he will probably enjoy the extra. So it's going to be tough, but I'm going to pass him by. I might have egg on my face afterwards, but I'm going to pass him by.
Look, the reality is you have to pass a few horses by, otherwise you're going to spend an absolute fortune in your betting exotics.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if I was a punter and I played a pick 6, I wouldn't put this horse in. I think he's just got too much to do. It's also his second run after a rest. I just think he's a bit in the deep end, and he's going to have to do a lot to pull himself out of there.
Right, well, let's go on. Also 33 to 1 in the betting. It's number 1 on the card, Coral Fever. And Ryan, I'll start with you here. 33 to 1, the right price for this one?
Geez, this is actually a very good price for this horse. You know, Coral Fever is a decent horse, and he's got a very nice draw of 4. And a lot of people say that he's not going to be suited for the short straight. But I've ridden Coral Fever, I've won on him, and he's got a very nice turn of foot. I think he's actually got a good turn of foot, and it will suit Gravel. So at 33 to 1, I think it's a very nice price for this horse because, geez, he's a top individual. You know, he won a Grade 1 his last start. He's done nothing wrong with the blinkers. You know, I was at track on last week Tuesday when I saw him gallop with Muzi, and it was a very nice gallop. So I think this horse has definitely got a chance here. 33 to 1 is a bit generous. You know, if you're willing to take a chance, it's a generous price.
Julie, I must say, listening to that confidence, I don't think that 33 to 1 is going to be around that much longer.
Exactly. You know, I came here thinking, well, Coral Fever certainly got a chance because he's probably come into this race with the most confidence any horse is coming into. He's got back-to-back victories. As Ryan pointed out, he's a Grade 1 winner. So he's in fantastic form at the moment, and that's what you want to be. You know, you want to be on a horse that's coming into this race that's in good form. But my concern was his turn of foot and the gravel track, and I was concerned about that because he is so well suited to the standside track at Turfentine. So listening to Ryan and knowing now that he's got a great turn of foot, well, he's going to be on my shortlist, that's for sure. Good draw. Muzieni, very confident. He's riding exceptionally well at the moment. He had a great season here on the Highveld during the summer season. And he could very well pull off the Vodacom Durban July for the Robbie Sage stable in the Colin Bird Silks. Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I'm going to make a bold prediction here, and that is on race day, this horse is going to be under 33 to 1 after those comments of Ryan. I think there's a good chance that it will shorten. Let's move on to horse number 6, Liège, 35 to 1. Julie, any chance?
You know what, Sean Terry always brings his horses into these races with good form. He's got other horses in this race that I do prefer. Raymond Danielson, however, is a top race jockey, and he generally gets the best out of these horses. And, you know, you look at him aboard the Son of Dynasty, he's only ridden him once, but he pulled off the Summer Cup. And, you know, that for me was a fantastic win. He beat Fort Ember that day. He had a light mass, though, of 53 kilograms. So he has gone up in the weights. He's another that's going to be coming from off the pace, from that deep draw, unless Raymond's going to be able to bounce him out and get him placed. But I think this is a type of horse that actually likes to be left alone, and he likes to build up. And I don't know if the gravel track is going to suit him when it comes to the July, like a tough race like this.
Ryan, if you have a look at a horse like this, what is needed in terms of the pace to enable a horse at gravel to come from off the pace? That needs a quick pace, with other horses tiring at the end to pick your way through the field?
You know, it's very difficult to say because a quick pace will suit the horses sitting midfield,
yes,
where the guys from last will still have to try past the guys midfield. But a slow pace will suit the guys in front.
Yes.
So the guys from last will have to start making their move 800 out to try to get there. But, you know, this horse, Liège, I know Raymond, like Jules said, is top race. He's a top jockey when it comes to big races. And drawn 18, Raymond's not going to be scared to try place this horse. If he gets trapped wide, he'll get trapped wide. But I'm sure this horse is strong enough to handle being caught 3 deep. And yeah, the only thing is his best runs have been effective from off the pace. So if it is a slow run race, it's going to be difficult. But if it's a decent gallop, he could be mowing them down at the end. So he is the Summer Cup winner, 2 starts back. But yeah, we'll see from there.
Well, number 18 of 18 on the card. It's a name that I think is going to attract a lot of your once-a-year punters. Secret Potion, Julie, 40 to 1.
One of the few fillies in the races. You know, Jeff Woodruff, masterful trainer, and I'm sure he'd love to win the Vodacom Durban July with Marco van Rensburg. The bottom of the weight, so it's going to have no weight on its back. And she certainly warrants respect. You know, she ran against the boys over a much shorter trip last time of 1,400 meters. She is better suited to this type of trip of 2,200. And I think from, you know, the draw 11, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem to place her. She's got some good gate speed. I think she could be a bit of an outsider for the places. I think she, you know, with that bottom weight, I think she certainly could sneak into the money.
And Ryan, the fact that it's a filly running against the boys often gets a lot of sentimental money as well.
Yeah, exactly, you know, but I think it's going to be very tough for this filly. You know, she's still 3, but she does have the lightest weight in the race. But yeah, I just think it's going to be very tough for her. But like Jules said, I'm sure she could run on into the back end of the quartets or something, or sneak into the money. But I think she just hasn't faced quality horses like this field yet, and this is the race that'll see how good she really is. It's a big throw in the deep end. But yeah, I wouldn't. It's not the type of horse I'd say would win. But she can run into the back. She can run into the back end of quartets because, you know, Mr. Woodruff, he knows what he's doing. He's a great trainer, and he won't put a filly like this in a race like this if he didn't think she had a chance.
Right, and talking of quartets and stuff, I mean, that's going to be very popular on race day as well. You've got to think, Julie, this one's going to pay, hey? I mean, let's talk about the other exotics,
Always
the pick
pays.
6 and that as well. But surely the Durban July quartet is going to pay.
Very much so, and especially with a field like this, because there's so many options. There's so many horses that can run into the money. There's so many horses that can win. So I think there's going to be a lot of different combinations being done with the quartets. Some are going to take their fancy, banker it with a whole lot of other horses, and other guys are going to float one horse or 2 horses and take their chances with a whole lot of others. But I think it's going to be difficult, so it will pay.
What would your strategy be here if I said to you, you've got 1,000 Rand to invest in a quartet, you can take a percentage, whatever you want. Do you double floating banker? What
You know
would
what,
you
no,
do?
I would probably float Made to Conquer to run in the top 4 and just put in as many horses as I possibly could afford with the rest.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good strategy. Let's move on to the next horse in the race. It's FIORELLA, number 11, 40 to 1. Ryan, any chance here? We're getting towards the end of the list and we're still talking 40 to 1 here. It's amazing. I mean, it can't be without a chance.
You know, I was waiting for you to bring up this horse. I really like this filly. You know, I think this is a big runner at 40 to 1. If you looked, when the entries for the July came out, the favourite for the race was O Susanna. Now, carrying level weights with O Susanna, FIORELLA ran half a length second to O Susanna. I think that was a brilliant run, and at 40 to 1, this is definitely a roughie. And if I was playing a quartet or a PA or a pick 6 or whatever, I'd definitely put this horse in.
You wouldn't leave it out.
I would not leave it out. And her gallop was very nice. You know, Mark Khan, he's a top jockey. He's won 2 Grade 1s since he's been back, and when he galloped the filly at the 200, he was already giving her a cheeky pat down the shoulder.
Brent, I just want to touch on 2 other runners that we've missed, and one of them being number 3, Abashiri, the son of Go Deputy from the Michael and Adam Azzi stable. You know, I know he hasn't won in a very long time since his Triple Crown victory and winning the last leg of the Triple Crown. But Michael Azzi and Adam Azzi have got this horse in good form at the moment. They brought him back very well. He's had a very good prep coming into this race. And he gets Pierre Stradum, who's won the July 4 times already. He's got a fantastic draw. And if he does bring his old class to the races, I think he could be a bit of a runner. I don't think you can leave him out of the exotics.
Well, I must say, hearing Striker Stradum on board, that's actually my favourite jockey, Rana. How did I miss that one?
Yeah, exactly. He's got the most experience coming into a race like this. He's going for his 5th July now, and Abashiri's definitely got a good chance. You know, draw 2, a lot of the guys will be skeptical, saying you don't want a good draw 2 with a horse that jumps slow. But you know, with Pierre on, I'm sure he'll make the best of it and place the horse well. And yeah, if you look at Abashiri, 2 years ago when he ran as a 3-year-old in the July, he was heavily fancied. Now it's 2 years later as a 5-year-old. You know, Mr. Azzi's done an exceptional job to get this horse coming back to his form, and I think he's only just coming back to his best now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had to win a race like this.
Well, Right, well, let's wrap up the Durban July.
Just before we do,
Oh, sorry, Julie.
Brent, my last horse
Yes.
is number 10, Matador Man, from the Sean Terry stable. Samanga Kumalo aboard. This is a type of horse that generally loses a bit of start, so the draw's not going to concern him. With 53.5 kilograms, he will be doing his best work late.
And I believe there's been quite a bit of money for Matador Man in the week as well. It's another that's come in, I think,
Not
from,
surprisingly.
just having a look here,
Those
it's come in
connections.
from 35 to 1 to 20 to 1.
Yeah.
So it's actually the biggest mover on the WSB
He loves
book.
Gravel. You know, he loves Durban. He thrives there, and I just think he's going to be a bit of a runner there.
Well, certainly
Okay.
plenty of cash on that one. Well, let's just have another look at the betting for the race. We'll talk to you about your best bets later. But anything just from a pure value point of view that jumps out there, if you had to say the roughie, I mean, we have obviously discussed a few of them. I've got a fair idea where you're going to call it, Ryan.
Yeah, see the horse second to the bottom, FIORELLA. Definitely that one at 40 to 1. You know, definite. 15 to 2 to run in the top 3. That's good, man. That's a good price for that horse. And I know she's a filly taking on the boys, but on her last run, she definitely has big credentials here. And I think she should put a good account of herself here.
Right, and I know you like number 1, Coral Fever as well. Julie, on that list, outside of the top, say, 5 or 6 in the betting?
Okay, so looking past my first choice, obviously Made to Conquer, I think Coral Fever at 33 to 1. I think, like I said, he's coming in with good form, grade 1 winner. I know he's got top weight, but if he can handle that gravel track, I think he could be a nice price at 33 to 1.
Right, well, that's the Durban July. We'll come back and wrap up best bets and that at the end, but there's a few other races on the card that we want to cover, and it's the Garden Province Stakes, where we've got our hot pot favourite. We can bring the betting up there on that one. We've got 11 to 20 shot Snow Dance, and Julie, just listening and reading up in the week, people are suggesting that 11 to 20 is not a bad price.
Not a bad
about
price.
Snow Dance. This has been really punted out there as the pick 6 banker.
You know what, drawn 1. You look at her course and distance record, she's had 2 starts for 2 seconds. Bernard fed her, back aboard her, and he gets on really well with this daughter of Captain Owl. He's ridden her 4 times for 2 wins, 2 seconds. Lightly raced on the up. She's had 7 starts, 4 victories, 3 places. For me, cherry ripe on Saturday. She's having her 3rd run after a rest. I actually cannot see her getting beat. I know it's always dangerous to say anything's a certainty in racing, but she, for me, is going to be a pick 6 banker. And it's not an easy card, so you got to go light somewhere, and I think this is the race to do it.
Well, it's not often you see 14 horses in a race and you can get 11 to 1 bar the top in the betting. So it really is priced up as a 1-horse race.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jules basically said everything there. Snow Dance, I think, is going to be very hard to beat. You know, 11 to 20 is a short price, but I think it's going to be hard to beat. Like Julie said, there's never a certainty in racing, but drawn 1, level weights. You know, if you're going to wait till the race, a good line would be how FIORELLA runs in the July. But basically on form, I can't see Snow Dance getting beat. I think she's the right horse here. And if you're going to bank her something, I think this is the best one to bank her.
Well, from what I can see, you're almost looking at a pick 5 here, because everyone's bankering the favourite in the last leg.
That's
and I
exactly
guess
it.
the other way to look at it is if you can find something to beat it. But, you know, it's also no point throwing money after something, you know, just for the sake of it, trying to beat the favourite.
The thing is, Brent, when you look past her, then it actually becomes quite tricky. Then you're going to have to put in a few horses, because there's not one other horse that actually stands out. I thought that 7, Simply Royal, she's never run at gravel, but she could enjoy this gravel track. She's got the Governor Jeff Lloyd aboard for trainer Sean Terry, and she's drawn well. So she's a type of filly over the 1600 meters that could very well get away with it from that good draw.
Right, so if you were looking at this from a betting strategy point of view, we know it's our banker for the pick 6s and that, but perhaps bankering in the trifectas or quartets and looking for maybe a couple of roughies to run into the
Well, that's
places.
exactly it. You know, I would bank at number 10, Snow Dance. I would then go with possibly, like I said, number 7, Simply Royal. You know, she never had a good draw last time. She's got a good draw this time round. So I'm expecting a better performance from her. Number 11, Neptune's Reign, Duncan House's daughter of Antonius Pius with Muzieni. Loves a gravel track. She's holding form well. I would include her into the play. And then number, I'm just taking a look, number 5, She's a Giver from the Johan Janse van Vuren stable. I know she's drawn out a little bit wide, but she's got very good gate speed. And if she does get into a good position, she's another that could run well with Raymond Danielson. So, you know, but like I said, when you start looking past her, there's others, like 13 Folk Dance. You know, she's a type of filly that you can't really leave out, although she does get fatigued after a race. So you're not quite sure how much of it takes it out of her during the race. But she's got Pierre Stradum from a good draw for the Paul Peters stable, all in good form. So, tough. I don't want to look past Snow Dance. It just becomes too confusing.
Probably not worth us over-analysing this one. I think you either got to go field here or you've got to go with the favourite as a banker. Well, there's a couple of juvenile races taking place early on the card, and the first one we'll cover is the Golden Slipper. That's over 1,400 metres. And Ryan, here we're talking 2-year-olds, and 2-year-olds are different when it comes to betting. You can get big improvement from maybe one or two that haven't shown anything to date.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the form, there's a few horses that have turned 8 lengths on each other, and 2-year-olds, anything's possible. I've learned that in my riding. You know, you never know what to expect. And coming to Greyville, short straight, you know, there's going to be all the tents up, the big crowd. They're going to be scared. They're going to be hot up. And, you know, if I look at a race like this, I would favour the 2-year-olds with the good draws. And that's how I would look at it.
Well, the betting's got a very open look to it. You can see Celtic Sea there 4-1, Captain's Princess 6-1, and you can get 7-1 and better the balance. So, Julie, this looks like a tough one, and forming part of the jackpot in the pick 6, it's one you might want to go wide.
Well, you have to go wide in these juvenile races, and I think Ryan's touched on a very good point, is that these youngsters are improving all the time. They turn the form around on each other constantly, and it's because, you know, some are going to get better over 1,400 metres, others are more better suited to 1,000 and 1,200. And I think you've got to take into account a lot of these youngsters are going to be going around the turn for the first time. They've never had tents around them. They've never had the excitement of a big race meeting like the Vodacom Durban July. Some will handle it like professionals. Others are going to be playing up. They're going to be using all that adrenaline before they even get out onto the track. So it's all these things that you actually don't know what they're going to do that comes into account before you even get your bets on, or, you know, so it's very, very tricky, these 2-year-old races. I see the 7 Celtic Sea is topping the boards and possibly has the best form coming into this race because she has featured and been placed in features. But if you like her, the 6 Captain's Princess with Naresh Juggle has got to come into the play. She ran a fantastic race in the Fillies Nursery behind Ronnie's Candy. The concern for me, though, is that the 6 Captain's Princess does have to travel down. She's been off a bit of a rest, but she's got pole position, and if she does manage the turn, I think she could be a bit of a runner, but quite an open-looking race. I actually chatted to Francine Audier regarding the Turby Spice runners, because they come in and they certainly have got the experience. A lot of them have got the experience. They've run a couple of races. And he said to me the 10, Miss Khalifa, is working very, very well back at home. He said, unfortunately, when she was supposed to race after her break and after her maiden win, the race meeting was abandoned due to the groom strike. So they couldn't get another run in. But he said that if she settles and she handles the turn and doesn't play up too much, obviously going down to the start and get too excited with everything that goes on, they're expecting a very good performance from her. And even the 9 Mazzari, you know, both got chances. But I just think that there's going to be a lot of improvement to come from this daughter of Sel from Seattle. She's well drawn. She's got Jeff Lloyd aboard, and the 10 Miss Khalifa could have a lot of improvement to come. So there could be a bit of an outsider there.
Is that one you'll be watching going down to the start for
Absolutely.
sure, and then making a decision based on that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Ryan, anything to add on that one before we move on to the Golden Horseshoe?
You know, here's a horse I wouldn't leave out. You know, basically Julie said everything I need to say, but Ronnie's Candy, you know, it won the nursery. And the manner it won the nursery, it wants a 1,400. And I think it will relish the extra trip. But if you look, a lot like a horse like Captain's Princess got beat by Ronnie's Candy, as well as Celtic Sea. Celtic Sea's favourite, Ronnie's Candy, beat it. They got the same weight. However, if you look at the next run, there's a 6-length turnaround. So you never know what 2-year-old is going to come to the course. But I think if Ronnie's Candy's at her best and gets a good running of the race, I think this could be the horse to beat.
Right, definitely one to include in your permutations, and I think certainly in my pick 6 I'll be going wide in this one. Probably the same in the next race as well, the 6th race, it's the Golden Horseshoe. This is now the 2-year-old boys doing battle. Ryan, let's start with you. What jumps out for you on the betting? We got a strong favourite here, the MATADOR trained Sokrat, and I think that's a stable companion, Bahrain at 4-1.
Yeah, the Sokrat is a classy individual. He's such a good horse, and his first 2 runs they weren't wins, they were convincing wins. And I think with draw 4, Randall knows this horse very well. I think Sokrat's going to be very hard to beat here. I think he would be the stable elect of the horses, and I think this is the class horse in the race. I think he's going on to do bigger and better things, and I'd say he's the right horse here.
Julie, this horse was 14-10 early in the week when I had a look, so there's been plenty of support.
No, doubtedly. And I mean, even last Sunday when we saw the runner-up to him in his debut performance, Victor Fourth, come out and Frank the Form from the Joey Soma stable, he did it in very good style because he was going nowhere at one stage during the race, and Samanga Kumala had to pull out all the stops, and they rate Victor Fourth as well, Joey Soma. So I know how the 13 Sokrat must look to the Mike de Kock stable, because he really has done it all. He's only run twice, but he's won both times in very good style. And I think he is certainly going to be the horse to beat. Well drawn, he's on the up, the form has worked out in those races, and he's going to he's shown that he's handled the 1400 metres superbly. And I think that's what we've got to look for in these type of races.
Potentially another popular banker, especially given all the other races are so open.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're going to play a small perm and you want to banker something, I think this is going to be your closest thing to the next banker. I think Sokrat is the right horse here. But, you know, it's always questioned. There's also a lot of questions. If you look at Jeff Lloyd's ride, how do you say? Basilius. You know, won quite nicely on debut, and I actually rode in the race. He seemed quite a sensible horse. He was well behaved. He didn't mess around. It jumped, went to the front, and won quite convincingly. And there was a lot of money support. And, you know, I'll never forget my first ever July experience. Jeff Lloyd won the same race on a horse called Warhorse for Speece. And this could be an omen. So, you know, you never know how good this horse really is. But I think Sokrat is going to be the one to beat you.
Yeah, quite a very popular banker. And perhaps if you are looking for a massive payout, you're going to try and beat it in the pick 6. But more than likely, you want it on your side.
I possibly think his biggest danger could very well be the 7, Cue the Music, from the Dennis Bosch stable. He won 3 victories on the trot. Well drawn, Anton Marcus getting back aboard him, and then his last start was in a feature, and he finished second behind Van Halen, behind the Turbis. So I think he's on the up. I wouldn't write him off, but I agree with Ryan. I think if you are looking to go a little bit light in the pick 6, take your chance with the 13 Sokrat in this event.
All right, well, we've reached that part of the show where we're going to settle on our best bets. And Ryan, I'll start with you, and feel free to throw in something from Turffontein as well.
Yeah, geez, you know, I've got a very nice card at Turffontein. If I just have to think out the top of my head and say my best ride, I'd say it's Front Rank. I think it's the last race, but he gave me a very nice feel last time. He's working quite nicely at home, and I think he'd be a very nice bet for Turffontein. But in the Durban fields, I said the best bet, if I wouldn't say win, but a horse with a lot of value is FIORELLA, 40-1. You know, if you're going to take places, you're going to get 15-2, which is still a very nice price for a place, and I think she can do that.
Right, yeah, 15-2, that's for top 3. Are you the sort of place punter who would go top 6 or top 3?
Me, I go as wide as possible.
As wide as possible. You want to get a payout?
I need to buy more shoes.
Okay.
Brent, I think Made to Conquer is going to be my each-way selection for the race. I think at 22-10 to run in the top 3, I think is nice value, especially with the governor, Jeff Lloyd. He's, you know, and looking at the horse's record, you know, he stays, he's in good form, he's done nothing wrong. So that's going to be my each way selection. It is a very tough July, and I think it's going to be one of those races where ladies' luck could very well come into it. So I suggest to all the ladies out there, look at your favorite numbers, find your favorite colors, and just go for it and have some fun.
Yeah, I agree. What a fun day. I mean, I know aside from getting on bets for all of my mates and their families on the day, there's also, we have a bit of a get together. We have a Durban July draw. It really is fun. But I must just point out that world sports betting is about more than just horse racing betting. And if you are looking at getting involved in other sports on the weekend, well, we've got the World Cup quarterfinals coming up. We've got the Tour de France, which is starting on Saturday. And of course, Super Rugby. And world sports betting have got promotions on all of those events. We see in the bottom corner there, the Tour de France. If you back any rider to win a stage and he finishes second, you get your stake back in free bets. There's also a Super Rugby promo with the Stormers and the Sharks are playing this weekend. And if you place a bet and it wins, can't quite see the writing there, but if I recall, if it wins in the last 5 minutes due to a try, they'll double your winnings in free bets. And of course, the World Cup quarterfinals as well, where my team Croatia, I'm hoping, is going to make some serious progress. Wimbledon's also on the go. If you back anyone before the quarterfinals, you can get your money back if they lose in the final. But that brings us to the end of the show, this Durban July show, filmed in the studio here, and I really enjoyed the experience. Quite an atmosphere around us with the traders. And Julie, thanks very much for your contributions.
Thank you, Brent. Lovely
and
being
yeah,
here.
enjoy your Saturday, and I'm sure we're going to have a great day. And Ryan, yourself, ride well, and let's see you ride the jackpot or the pick six for us. Eh?
Yeah, thank you very much, Brent.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much. It's been great being here in the studios. Remember, if you do open an account with World Sports Betting, which is strongly recommended, you can get a first deposit bonus up to 10,000 Rand. There is also money that can be made for your existing punters as well. If you deposit up to 30,000 Rand, you'll get a percentage of that back as a bonus. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks to everyone who put this first ever show like this together. It's been great being with you. You can bet with World Sports Betting and bet with the best.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Okay. Thanks, guys.